Okay, so I'm going to bring you sort of a summary of why I've been teaching all about that economic macro, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into challenge missions under single player and opening gambit. As you can see, I have gold in this. Playing all of those challenges, I highly recommend it because there's so many little skills that you can learn from there. I'm going to skip this, but basically the idea is that you've got to have a really good macro, and all that I've been teaching about always building these probes, SCVs, drones, whatever race you are, that really boils down to what's called macro. Macro just means large, big. So when you say macro, that means that you're getting a lot, whereas micro is talking about little things. And of course, in StarCraft, when they say micro, they refer to micromanaging your unit, so individually managing each unit. Macro is about your whole general sort of gameplay, game sense. You want to be able to get a lot of economy and a lot of units, and that's the essence of macro. So I've been teaching all about getting workers. And why have I been teaching about getting workers? Because if you do not get workers, the rest of your macro falls apart. Now, of course, doing the regular build order, 10 for the supply depot, I send this out just before getting to 100. So that way he gets there when I'm at 100, sort of as efficient as possible, so to say. But yeah, in this build, I'm going to do it a little different. I won't get my gas at 13 because I'm actually going to be going for a fast command center expand, just because of the nature of this challenge mission. That's what you actually have to do. So in a regular game though, unless you practice this build order, never go with a fast expand like I'm doing. I'm doing different than, you know, what would sort of be considered the standard build order, but it's not really a big difference. So anyways, once again, back on the topic of macro, I've been teaching you about this, and the reason why a lot of new players don't realize how important this thing called macro is, or how it really works. So basically, let's say I've been playing with some friends, like when StarCraft 2 first came out. Some of my friends who weren't very good at the game, they still liked to play it, and they would play and, well, they sucked, for lack of a better word. And we were playing co-op versus AI. And what I noticed a lot of my friends would do, or even a lot of new players when I'm playing against people who aren't that good, is they don't know macro. And what is macro? Macro is getting very fast economy and building up a lot of stuff very fast. So, you know, it's sort of like, okay, yeah, they forget what macro is, and yeah, they just can't put much out. If you don't have good macro, you don't have good army units. Because what a lot of players do is they will actually say, oh, well, I need to put out an army, so that means that I can't build units. That is completely false. At the very beginning of the game, nobody can put out an army. Everybody's got to build up units, and if your opponent tries to attack you in your base with earlier units than yours, you can always use some of your workers to defend. And you've got to remember, if he's attacking with early units, he doesn't have as many workers as you. He hasn't been collecting as many minerals. So if you use some of your workers to attack his in return, you're not actually behind him in economy like you might think. So right now, of course, I'm saving up so I can get that early command center. That's why I'm only building SCVs and these guys. So anyways, I'm building lots of SCVs, and I'm actually going to be able to build a big army. Now, right now, you think, oh, you don't have much of an army, and some people are like, I need army by now. So they, instead of having, however many this is, like 16, 17 workers, instead of having this many workers, they might have like half of that, and instead they'd already have like 3 or 4 Marines out by now. But those Marines are not going to be able to help you at all. And actually, I gotta wait for the Zerg wave attack to finish before I can build that command center. So I'm actually going to build a refinery right now while I'm waiting. And of course this guy's just going to pummel away, and when the next guy comes out I'm going to grab him and pummel away. Okay, so anyways, there we go. Let's get this repairing that. And okay, drop this right now, and then I'm going to come out and build that. Anyways, sorry I'm getting so distracted. As you know from my other videos, I really suck at playing and talking at the same time. So anyways, what I was on the topic of is I was saying, like, my friends and other people I've seen, they won't put out as many SCVs, and then they'll put out units. And then they'll say, oh, I got some early units, I can defend easily. But the problem is, when their opponent comes in, they'll have a lot more units because they built those early workers, and they won't be able to keep up with the amount of units their opponent's throwing at them. So that's why it's very important to put out, always be building these workers, always, because the thing is, you don't actually get less units As you spent your resources on these workers instead, you just get your units a little bit later, but then you quickly get a lot more units. So, you know, it's okay, sorry, I gotta build some stuff. So, like, thing is, by having all of these workers and always building workers right away and always having them come out, so I'm gonna upgrade to orbital command now, because that's pretty close to saturation. But anyways, the advantage is, because I put out all these workers early, yes, I didn't have as many units right away, but I've got way more resources. This allows me to build a lot more buildings, and in the end, that equals a lot more units. And frick, I supply block myself again. I'm great at doing that, especially when talking.
What's going on?
So don't supply block yourself. This is the most common place I find that most players will get supply blocked, especially for Terran, but even for Protoss is right around this 27, 26 mark, whatever your race happens to be at. Okay, so this is done. Let's pump out some
upgrade complete.
SCVs. Of course, I gotta wait for one of these two to finish to get my supply,
Additional supply
which really
required.
sucks. Actually, I should cancel this, and what I should have done earlier, because I was supply blocked, is I should have built that add-on a lot earlier. So that way I could have, you know, I wasn't wasting time, because now I'm just wasting time. And put that up just as the Zerglings get there. Ooh, damn it, the roaches had vision of my units. I didn't have higher ground advantage because of those Zerglings. You gotta be careful of stuff like that. I really wasn't paying attention. Okay. And
Base is under attack.
whoa! I accidentally got a barracks in there. Okay, factory should have gone down a lot earlier. I'm really slipping on my macro this game. Anyways, you know, like, play through this challenge mode and it will really make you understand macro. Like, if you play this challenge mode and you don't do what I did, like, I was always building, I'm gonna stop building anything right now, just so that I can talk, but I was always building a lot of workers at the beginning. Look how many I have. I've already got my second base up. You know, I've now got 2 barracks to produce out of. You know, this one can build them twice as fast, blah blah blah. I've got a lot of gas going, and so I've got a lot. Try and play this game in a few different ways. First of all, I want you to play where you don't always build SCVs and you don't get the fast expansion. There's no way you will get gold, guaranteed. And then I want you to play where you get like the fast expansion, but maybe you don't get fast workers, or maybe you go for a lot of earlier units. I don't care what you do, but this is a really good place to learn what macro means and what that economic macro means, because this challenge mode is all about, you know, how fast can you get this many units out. So look at this army, 38 and 8, like 30 Marines at 1 supply each. Siege tanks are 3 supply, so that's 24, so we're up to 54, and ghosts I believe are 2. Yeah, 54 plus 16. So that's 70 supply of army, in addition to, at that point, when you finish this, you're probably going to have like 30 supply, if not 45 supply in workers. So, you know, like, you're really going to be noticing the difference. Like, that's a ton of food. You're going to have like over 100 food by the time this ends. And when it comes to game time, with 4 minutes left, I think it was 15 minutes. So, whoa, back up, back up, back up. You're going to die. No! Oh, they weren't in the hotkey, I couldn't back them up. Whatever. It really doesn't matter. Sorry, I'm getting so distracted. I really don't need to be doing this. Anyways, so where was I? Oh yeah, I was saying, you know, with 4 minutes left, you're already going to have this big army. If you do anything other than building a ton of SCVs at the very beginning, you are not going to even get silver. Like, if you do a late expand, you'll get silver if you're doing really good at always building an SCV gold. If you do a fast expand like I did, that's the only way you get gold. Now, in a normal game, you won't necessarily want to play this aggressively with your expansion against a normal human, because they're not going to be as predictable as this AI generated simulation is. Oh, so anyways, I'm gonna lose very soon, so I'm just gonna quit anyways. So yeah, that's very important. Play through that challenge mode and it will really make you understand why I've been harping so much on economy, economy, economy. You have no macro unless your economy is really good. So I can't stress that enough. That's why I had so many videos on economy, because, you know, that's like the most important fundamental skill of StarCraft, is being able to get a good economy. without a good economy, you can't build a big enough army to beat your opponent. It doesn't matter if you know how to counter his units. You don't, like, yes, you have to learn all the other things like army placement, unit composition, and all these things, but until you have this macro, you can't build an army big enough to beat his, because an army of 50 Marines is going to beat an army of 3 siege tanks no matter what. So you might say, oh, I've got better units. Siege tanks are counters to Marines. But if he's got like 50 of them and you've got like 3 or even 5 siege tanks, you're going to die. There's just no way around it. When his army is that much bigger than yours, it doesn't matter how much better your units are. So, macro, macro, macro. I'm being really annoying on purpose because I want to get drilled into your head. I want to make sure that you know that you can't do anything without macro. So hopefully this helps sort of put together all of the other ones that I have so that they actually make a bit more sense. I encourage you, play it, play it, play it, play it. And play it until you get gold. That's all for now.